There is a specific kind of person who will wake up earlier than everyone else, step outside into the cold, turn a key with a kind of guarded optimism, and listen, not just for whether the engine starts, but for what kind of mood the machine seems to be in that day. He knows the idle is a little rough. He knows the clutch engages a little too high. He knows there is a sound somewhere near the front that should not be there, but has become familiar enough to feel almost intimate. And still, he drives it. Not because it is practical, not because it is comfortable, not because it makes life easier. In fact, the strange thing about him is that he keeps choosing a life that asks more from him than necessary, and he does it with a kind of private loyalty that other people do not fully understand. From the outside, it looks irrational. Why would someone daily drive a project car, something unfinished, temperamental, unpredictable, when modern life already offers enough instability on its own? Why willingly add friction to a world that is already exhausting? Why choose the machine that might leave you stranded, late, stained with grease, and explaining yourself to people who have long since stopped seeing the romance in inconvenience? But this isn't really about cars. It never was. What looks like mechanical stubbornness is often something much deeper. Because the man who daily drives a project car is usually not just trying to get somewhere. He is trying to preserve a certain relationship with effort, with control, with meaning itself. He is protecting a way of being in the world that feels increasingly rare. Most people want life to become smoother as they get older. They want fewer surprises, fewer interruptions, fewer demands. They want systems that work quietly in the background, asking almost nothing of them. And that makes sense. There is comfort in convenience. There is peace in reliability. But for some people, too much smoothness creates a different kind of discomfort. When everything becomes sealed, optimized, and frictionless, life can start to feel strangely distant, as if you are no longer participating in it so much as consuming it. The daily driven project car interrupts that numbness. It demands attention. It punishes carelessness. It refuses to be invisible. And for the right kind of person, that is exactly the point. Psychologists sometimes talk about something called an internal locus of control. It sounds technical, but the idea is simple. Some people move through life believing that their outcomes are mostly shaped by outside forces, by luck, systems, timing, and circumstances. Others feel a deeper need to believe that what happens to them can be influenced, repaired, or redirected by their own hands. The second type is often drawn to things that can be understood, adjusted, and brought back to life. That is part of what the project car represents. It is a world that still responds to you. If something feels off, you investigate. If something breaks, you learn. If it fails, you do not just throw it away and replace it with a newer one that hides its problems behind software and sealed components. You stay with it. You understand it. You participate in its survival. And that participation becomes emotional long before the person realizes it. Because when a man spends enough nights under a car, enough mornings chasing a problem, enough weekends turning confusion into comprehension, he is no longer just maintaining a vehicle. He is building evidence for a private belief that difficult things are still worth staying with. And this is where it becomes uncomfortable, because the truth is that many people only feel valuable when they are needed by something broken. Not everyone will admit that. Most will deny it. But it shows up everywhere, in relationships where one person becomes addicted to rescuing the other, in jobs where people stay loyal to environments that drain them simply because solving impossible problems makes them feel irreplaceable, in families where love was not always expressed through softness, but through labor, sacrifice, fixing, enduring. For some men, especially those raised in homes where affection was indirect, repair becomes one of the first languages of care they ever learned. Maybe no one sat them down and taught them how to talk about fear, disappointment, or loneliness. Maybe connection came through shared tasks instead, through handing tools to a father or grandfather, through standing nearby while something mechanical was taken apart and made whole again. Maybe praise was rare, but competence was noticed.
Maybe warmth was inconsistent, but usefulness earned a kind of quiet respect. So, later in life, without fully realizing it, they become attached to things that let them return to that emotional structure. Something is wrong. I stay calm. I figure it out. I make it work. And in doing so, I become the kind of person that matters. That is why letting go is hard.
Because to everyone else, it is just a car with problems, but to him, it may be one of the last places where effort still turns directly into meaning. The rest of adult life is not always so cooperative. You can work hard in a relationship and still lose it. You can be loyal at a job and still be replaced. You can do everything right and still watch life ignore your intentions. Modern adulthood teaches a brutal lesson, which is that effort and outcome are not always connected. A project car offers a temporary rebellion against that lesson. Here, the connection still feels visible. Here, the diagnosis matters. Here, patience matters. Here, skill matters. Here, if something improves, you know why. That certainty is deeply soothing to a mind that has discovered how chaotic everything else can be. And it also becomes part of identity. Identity is not just what you like, it is what you suffer for without resentment. Anyone can admire old metal, polished wheels, engine noise, the aesthetic of imperfection. But the man who daily drives the project car is not merely attracted to the image, he is committed to the inconvenience. He is saying something about himself every time he accepts the trade-off. Every unexpected sound, every postponed purchase, every roadside adjustment becomes part of a quiet autobiography. He is not the kind of person who abandons difficult things simply because they became difficult. That sounds noble, and sometimes it is, but it can also become a trap, because every identity has a shadow. Strength can become rigidity, loyalty can become self-punishment, pride and endurance can quietly turn into an inability to recognize when something no longer serves your life. A person can become so invested in being the one who keeps it alive that he no longer asks whether keeping it alive is costing him too much. He can confuse attachment with purpose. He can romanticize struggle so thoroughly that peace starts to feel undeserved, even suspicious. When you're used to proving yourself through friction, ease can feel like emptiness. This is not unique to car culture. It is one of the most common human patterns there is. We get attached to versions of ourselves that were forged in difficulty, and then we protect those versions long after the difficulty has stopped teaching us anything new. The project car, in that sense, becomes a mirror. It reflects back not only the owner's taste, but his philosophy. Does he believe value comes from refinement or rescue? Does he trust what arrives finished, or only what he has personally suffered to understand? Does he know how to enjoy something without also having to prove something through it? And there is another layer beneath all of this, one that has less to do with control and more to do with time. Many men are not just attached to the machine, they are attached to the era of themselves that the machine still seems to protect. A certain smell, a certain dashboard, a certain kind of steering feel can carry more memory than people realize. It can take someone back to a driveway, a neighborhood, a summer, a parent who is no longer alive, a version of life that felt unfinished in the best possible way. The project car is often not just a vehicle from the past, it is a container for emotional continuity. It holds together pieces of the self that adulthood has scattered. And adulthood does scatter you. It makes you practical. It teaches compromise. It narrows the imagination in the name of responsibility. You become efficient, reachable, organized, tired. You become good at surviving systems that do not care who you are. So when someone keeps an old, flawed, demanding machine alive in the middle of all that, he may be doing something psychologically profound. He may be defending a part of himself from being fully domesticated by modern life. That is why outsiders often underestimate what is happening. They see a financial mistake, a time-consuming hobby, an immature attachment, a refusal to grow up.
And sometimes there is truth in those criticisms. But sometimes what they're really witnessing is a person fighting, in his own imperfect way, against the deadening force of total convenience. Because convenience is not neutral. It removes effort, yes, but it also removes intimacy. The more seamless life becomes, the less contact we have with the inner workings of anything, including ourselves. We stop learning how things fail. We stop learning how things are repaired. We lose patience for imperfection, and eventually we lose tenderness for our own. The man who daily drives a project car lives in opposition to that. He remains in contact with flaw, with unpredictability, with maintenance, with the ancient idea that value is not always found in what performs perfectly, but in what continues despite imperfection. And maybe that is why the story resonates even with people who have never touched a wrench. Because almost everyone has something in their life they keep carrying long after logic says to let it go. A relationship, a dream, a city, a version of themselves, something that still breaks, still asks, still complicates everything, and yet feels too meaningful to abandon. So the real question is not why some guys daily drive project cars. The real question is what difficult, unfinished thing in your own life have you mistaken for a burden, when it may actually be the last place where you still feel fully alive? And just as importantly, what are you still holding on to because it gives you identity, even if it no longer gives you peace?